Hey, what's up, family? This is Marseille, aka the Property Pastor, here with Kingdom Legacy Builders, where our mission is to help everyday people like you and me to build a lasting legacy for their children and their children's children using real estate and wealth building principles. Today, I want to talk all about cash reserves. Now, I want you to picture this scenario. Right, you've got your first rental property, you just purchased it, and say, for example, you've had it for about 10 months. Things are going well, you're making money every single month, it feels good to cash that rent check. You decide, hey, I'm gonna take a trip, you decide, hey, I'm gonna go out to eat a few times. Life is good. You're feeling great as a real estate investor, you feel like you're succeeding and you're on your way to financial freedom. But then what happens? You get a call from your property manager telling you that your AC went out, and it's gonna cost you about $8,000 to fix. You don't have that kind of money. So what do? Right? You get frustrated. You're looking around. You're trying to sell stuff. You're borrowing money. You're maxing out credit cards. Your wife's looking at you sideways like, what are we going to do? You're borrowing from your 401k. All of these kind of things, right? And she's looking at you saying, hey, or your spouse is looking at you saying, this is not for us. Why did we ever buy this property in the first place? Guess what? You just became a motivated seller. Now, this whole scenario could have been avoided if you had cash reserves set aside. So today I'm going to talk all about that. I want to give you some tips. I'm going to give you some strategies on how you can set aside cash reserves, how you can sleep well at night, and how you can have that stuff all in place so that your business is successful and you will become a motivated seller. Before we get started though, I want to remind you to make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. We are bringing great content every single week to help you to build your business, to help you to build that legacy. So let's go ahead and get started. So like I mentioned, with a rental property, things are going to break. The AC is going to go out. You're going to have plumbing problems. You're going to have all sorts of issues where you're going to need to make repairs. Your roof may need to be fixed. Things happen, they break. Just like your own house where you live, things tend to break over time. And with every rental property, things will break. So it's important that you set aside cash reserves. And I want to give you some guidelines to help you be successful so that when those things do break, it's an inconvenience, but it's not a deal breaker for your business. So first of all, I recommend that for every property you have about $5,000 to $10,000 set aside. Now I'll circle back to that at the very end, but it's a good start when you're beginning to have about $5,000 to $10,000 set aside for emergencies. For some folks call it emergency funds. I like to call it CapEx. But what you're doing there is you're setting aside money so that when it does break, you can pull from that source instead of having to go into your own pocket. That's a whole different scenario. But then you may ask, well, how do I get that money? Where does that come from? So the first thing is when you buy a property, if you have that money already saved up, it's a great idea to transfer a portion of it over, right? If you got an extra $2,000 or if you got $2,000, that you don't have to spend on closing, when you purchase the property, go ahead and put that money to your cash reserves. But then on top of that, you actually want to save money every single month. So let's say, for example, if you got a property that's you're renting out for $1,500 a month, a single family home, you want to take about 10% of that, anywhere from 8 to 10%, and save it every single month, right? But in this scenario, you want to pay your CapEx off the top, so then that way you don't miss that money. Just pay it like it's another expense and go ahead and include it in your calculations. That way it is money that's set aside. Now, once you kind of hit that threshold, you get $10,000 saved up, you don't have to keep dumping money there. Now you can start keeping that money for yourself or towards another property, right? So a great thing to do is to go ahead and set aside money every single month from your cash flow to go towards the reserve fund, right? And the thing about this is that as you acquire more properties, I do want to make sure you understand. So I do recommend that you have about 10 grand, per property. But as you get more properties, like if you've got 10 properties, say for example, you don't need to have $100,000 saved up. The reason I say that is because after you get to a certain amount of properties, say for example 5, right? Everything's not going to break at once. Your whole portfolio is not going to have a roof replacement, a broken AC. All of that stuff is typically not going to happen in a calendar year. In my business, I've been doing this for 4 years. I have yet to see that happen. Now, I have had things like even this year, I had to spend $6,000 on one particular property. Last year, I had probably another 5 or 6 on a different property. So all the properties don't undergo that at the same time. But after you build up a portfolio, you may decide your number is 40 or 50,000 once you get to like 10 properties. So you don't have to have $100,000 $100,000 saved up, unless you desire, unless you so choose. It's totally up to you. But I like to take that money and buy more deals, right? So I like to reinvest that money back into my business. So that's a choice that you can make. You can kind of adjust as your business goes through different cycles, based on your level of comfort. But the most important thing is you've got the money saved up. And when you got the money saved up, you sleep a lot better at night. You're not dreading that call. What if this breaks? What if the AC goes out? What if the furnace goes out? What if the roof caves in and I got to replace that? These things are stressors. And real estate investing should not be a stressful event, right? If real estate investing it's like an employee. It is a business. It should be something that is helping to build that legacy, and something is an asset, and not something that should cause you to lose sleep at night. So when you have the money saved up, you'll sleep like a baby. So I wanted to give you that tip. So as you're buying that first property, make sure when you're running your numbers that you compensate. You consider CapEx into your calculations. Make sure that you can put aside that money every single month. Make sure that you've got some extra funds set up when you're starting, because things will break. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So if you do that, you'll be successful. I don't want you to be a motivated seller. I buy properties from motivated sellers all the time. People who just can't wait to they just want to get rid of the house. And when they do that, they sell it for a deep discount. So I don't want to get your house that way. Some people may, but I don't want to get it that way. I want you to be successful. I want you to build that legacy for your children and your children's children. Save up for those cash reserves. I'm praying nothing but the best for you. I want to shout out my guys over at Healthy Mental, my man Randall Crowder over at Healthy Mental, who's got an awesome clothing line. Check him out in the links as well. Great guy. Christ-centered clothing line, God-centered clothing line as well. But again, if you haven't done so, subscribe to this channel. Drop your questions, drop your comments in the comment section. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Can't wait to see you again soon. God bless.